Are you an educator looking for a better way to manage your inbox and your emails and to use technology to make things easier? Then keep watching, because this is for you.
And welcome to Band Directors Anonymous, although I guess you might say this is Educators Anonymous because these tips apply to all teachers everywhere. It's time we all admit we have a problem. The demands of our career are crazy and pull us in 1,000 different directions, and my goal here is to share some of the tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way and hopefully learn a few other things. Today I want to talk about slaying the email dragon. My inbox drives me nuts, and it's taken me a while to kind of get this under control just a little bit. And so I want to share some of the things that I do and see what other people do as well. Just counted, I have 53 active email chains. They don't all need to be dealt with this week, but some of them are this week, some of them are next month, some of them go out to things I'm dealing with in 2020 and trips I'm planning, but they're all active and I can't just make them go away. They have to be managed and dealt with. And these are all geared towards Gmail, which is what my current job and my last two jobs actually have used, are the Google Suites. So if you have Outlook, a lot of this stuff will apply. You just have to do a little bit of Googling to figure it out on your own. The number one thing I use that helps me the most is something called Boomerang. It's a funny name, but it has two really useful functions. It's an extension that you add into Chrome. It has a send later feature and a remind function. The send later is sort of self-explanatory. When you send an email, there's an option to choose send at a later time. Like if it's Monday night, you could choose to send it for Tuesday or next Monday, and it's a time you get to pick. I found really specific applications for this in education, and those are assignments and reminders for things that are repetitive. In my case, as a band director in middle school, I use practice sheets and timesheets and things along those, log your minutes, and hopefully they don't lie too much about their minutes. But they're due at certain intervals, and I set up emails to remind parents and send copies of that assignment home, and it's automated. I don't have to think about it, it just happens. When I first started doing this, I was paranoid that the emails were not going to go out and that I would have no way to check and that I would forget. So I ended up just CCing myself on the emails. So I would come in the morning and see, oh, I sent myself an email last night, and that was sort of my reminder. And that every time it's happened to me, I'm always pleasantly surprised because, oh, that's one less thing I have to think about. I also noticed as soon as I started doing this, the turn-in rate on these assignments went way up because now the parents were being gently prodded and reminded of when these assignments were due, especially if it's not something that's due every week, it's due every other week or once a month. I also found the send later function is really useful for concert reminders. You know when your concerts are for the year coming up, and I can set reminders about 2-3 weeks out from those events to get sent to my entire email list. I can send out the, here's what our address is, here's a reminder, here's the venue, here's what time you need to show up, and I can send all that information out and automate it, set it once at the beginning of the school year and not have to think about it. I want to set solo and ensemble up like that. That thing always catches me off guard right before Thanksgiving break, trying to get that out and get the winter concert set up. And I feel like if I had that basic cover letter of, hey, here parents, here's solo and ensemble, here's the information you need, here's the deadline. If I can set that out in August and set it and forget it, it'll get sent on its own, and that's one less thing that I need to deal with. I also find the send later function is really useful in two weird socially awkward situations, if you will. Sometimes I find myself working in the wee hours of the morning, and I don't really want the sender to know that I've sent an email at 2 or 3 in the morning, so I can hit send later and it'll send first thing in the morning. I know the business world loves this because you can also time your email as to when that person's likely to see it. If you send it overnight and it gets lost in all their other emails, they're not going to see it. If you time it for 8 a.m., it's at the top of their inbox. So if there's somebody you really want to get their attention or time the arrival of your email, I find that's a useful feature. And the other one is, I don't know how to really say this, but let's be honest, there are students and parents that will blow up your inbox with requests, and you don't want to respond to them immediately. You may see the email, you may have the answer immediately, but you kind of want to slow them down a little bit because you know this chain's going to go back and forth. And I find that useful to, get that email right after school, knock it out, and say, hey, send it first thing tomorrow. And so there's a little bit of space. I don't really know how to describe that, but it's a useful feature. Let's just put it. The second feature of Boomerang is where it gets its name, because you can get an email and you can hit a button and boomerang it, and it will disappear from your inbox and come back at a time of your choosing. At first I thought this was the dumbest thing. I thought this feature was not useful at all. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. But then it occurred to me, I'm always getting emails for field trips or pullouts or things that are of a low level importance, but I can't forget about. For example, next Thursday, all your juniors are going to be testing in the cafeteria, or next Friday, the 8th graders are going to be on a trip and will miss half of your class. Things like that I wouldn't necessarily write down on my calendar because it's going to affect me, but not that much. What I do is I take that email and I hit the Boomerang function and have it come back either the morning of the event or the day before, and then it comes back as a gentle reminder, hey, your juniors are gone today. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was 3 weeks ago. There was no way I was going to remember that otherwise. Or the 8th graders are on that field trip. Okay, that's right. I've got half my band missing today. And you can plan accordingly, and it's a reminder, and it gets it out of your inbox. It sends it to somewhere. I don't know. I imagine email fairies dealing with it and then sending it back to you in a timely fashion. I also use the remind function or the Boomerang function for things that are important and I want a second reminder for. For example, the evaluation schedule and the paperwork and the forms that you have to turn in for your teacher evaluations at my school and in our district and our state, they're due at various times throughout the year, and I will get those emails with all that information and I will boomerang it to myself 1 week before the deadline so that I don't have to stare at it for months in my inbox and feel like it's hanging over my head, and then it sort of gets in my face when it's important and when I know I need to deal with it. Boomerang is free. I've never hit the cap. You get 10 boomerangs or 10 send laters per month, and it's a rolling 30 days, so it's not like you get 10 each October, 10 each November. It's 10 over 30 rolling days, and I've gotten close, but not quite enough, and I find the feature saves me a lot of time, and if I ever found myself going up against it, I would happily pay because it does save me a lot of time, especially with those automated messages that I can send out like clockwork and forget about. So the next feature I find really important is multiple inboxes. In this picture, the blue box is your normal inbox that's along the left, and the right side are your multiples. The red one is the starred and the drafts, and the green circle can be a custom inbox or a label if you're choosing, depending on how you want to customize your inbox. I use my stars for sort of a holding pattern of things that I need to deal with, but not right this second. They're not super important, maybe next week or in a month, but I can't forget about, and then I'll clear those out probably once a week. The drafts area is really important to me because I'm constantly getting emails and I instantly start a response and outline what my thoughts are and what I'm thinking about, and then I leave it over there. So it lets me see what my work in progress is, what emails I need to go back to and continue editing, and what I haven't sent, and it's a way to sort of keep track of what's important currently. It's kind of like my hot button list or my to-do list for the day. I also find the drafts feature is really important because, let's be honest, there's times where you want to put your thoughts down and then think about that email, sleep on it, think about it, what you really want to say or what's important or how you're best going to put out that fire. So the drafts lets me see exactly what emails I have in the draft process, whereas if I had all my email in one giant list, I wouldn't necessarily see it. It's too befuddled and too messed up. Canned responses will save you so much time. As a band director, as a teacher, how many times are you answering the same question year in and year out? Why does Johnny need to rent an instrument? Why can't we buy one off eBay? How do we rent an instrument? Where do we go? What do we do? Despite how much you talk about that at parent night or in class, you still get those individual emails. And after typing them for the 10th time, some people just save them in a file. This puts it in your email. You literally click this button right here and it opens up these automated replies. And I use them as a rough draft, so I may change the names and change the format depending on what the exact question was, but there are so many situations that we deal with on a daily basis that are repetitive that just hitting this button and having a 3-paragraph response already auto-populated, you're ready to go, and that saves a lot of time. Another one I get a lot is driving separately. We have an event or an away game or a festival thing, and little Johnny needs to get a ride home from mommy, and depending on your school district, there are different rules and regulations for how they want that handled, and I have that all set up in an auto response to just boom, I have all the details there, here's what you need to do, here's who you need to talk to, here's the form I need signed, and there's no typing. It's literally just one click and I'm just about done with that email. I also use that, I also have one of those set up for, when a student is struggling and what they need to do to catch up, or ideas for how to get them to practice more. I have a whole little quick response for what I say to parents that are having trouble getting their students to remember their instrument at home, how they can practice, how they can get practice time without their instrument, and all sorts of little tips and tricks that I can just literally one click and there it is. I feel like I say this in all my videos, but I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing what I've picked up over the years, and I'm hoping I pick up a few ideas from other people as I do this project and as I research. These are the ways that I've learned to handle my email, and I wish somebody had sat me down when I first started teaching and said, here are some ideas, because I would have loved that advice, because When I was in college, email was barely a thing, so it's something that literally had to learn on the job.